G'day guys, thanks for clicking on the video. This is part 4 of the Bushcraft treehouse build, and this will be it. At the end of this episode it'll be finished. I'll do one more video which will be an overnight stay in here, see how it goes, see if I need to change anything or modify anything. But yeah, as I said, thanks for clicking on the video. I do appreciate it, and sit back, enjoy it, and yeah, let's get into it. Thanks guys. So if you haven't seen part 3, you can check that out on the playlist. But in that one I started this first wall, and I'm only lashing it all across the top, so it's still free hanging. I've temporarily lashed it on the bottom, so just at 3 points just to stop it flapping around in the breeze. I've lashed it off permanently at the top, so it's final lashing, but I have to waterproof it, and then I have to roll it up out of the way and tie it up, do the roof, and then roll it back down, just because I have it overhanging this rail, so when I put the roof on it'll be tucked in, and if I did the roof first I wouldn't be able to get that tucked in there. So yeah, if you haven't checked out part 3, that's the reason why I'm doing the walls, and then I'll go back to doing the roof, and then go back to doing the walls. So as I said, I do appreciate you checking out the video. If you haven't looked at the other videos on my channel, I'd sort of encourage you to do that, not just for my benefit but for yours. There might be something on there you're interested in. Got some bushcraft cooking videos, cooking on stone, of making a canoe, and a whole heap of other stuff on there, so certainly worth checking out if you haven't done so already. Just started the roof, splitting the bamboo for it. I'm actually going to start at these trees, so where the tree comes up through the roof, and then work my way out, and then the other one down that side. Still trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. The issue is, when it rains, water's going to hit this tree obviously, and it's going to run down the trunk. That's alright, I don't mind that. But the other issue is the water hitting the roof, running down the roof, is going to pool up on this against this tree and flow over the edge of it and down into the shelter, which I don't want. So what I've come up with, just got an inner tube out of a car tyre. So I'm going to, be hard to show you this, but that's the inner tube. Okay, so I've cut that tyre round. Cut the tyre round. It was round to start with. I've cut the tyre across it, and then I've cut it twice around the circumference of it, so I end up with a flat sort of donut looking shape. But it's not a donut because it's more like a C, because there's a piece cut out of it. However, it's going to wrap around the tree like that. Now again, the rain comes from that direction, and the roof is sloping down this way, so the water's going to run down here and the rain's going to hit it there. So I'll have this where it joins, and I'll lash it on. I'll have it on this this side of the tree, away from the rain. And it's going to be, still don't know if it's going to work, but in my mind what I envision, it's going to overlap, and then I'll lash it on there with a bit of wire and twist it up nice and tight. It won't bother the tree at all because it's rubber. It's just going to stretch around the bark. It's not going to damage the bark. And then once it's lashed on, I can flare it out, so lift out these pieces, and the roof will sit on top of that, the bamboo will sit on top of that, and I'll also glue it, and hopefully that'll prevent the water kicking back into the shelter. I don't want to wake up in the middle of a storm and find that I'm soaked to the bone. Who says you don't need a multi-tool in your kit? I mean, really? Tell me how you're gonna twist wire up with a knife if you don't have a pair of pliers. And if you're just going to take a pair of pliers for the off chance you're going to have to cut or twist up wire, why not take a multi-tool? I don't know. Tell me. Leave it in the comments. Do you think it's valid to have a multi-tool? I wouldn't say this is traditional bushcraft. I mean, where are you going to find a car inner tube out in the bush? Put it around. Basically, that's what I'm looking for. Something like that. Just a bit tighter on the tree, and then it'll be good to go. Alright, we've got some issues. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, that's 2. So I've worked out the order of these. I've pre-measured them, pre-cut them. I've numbered them. I've numbered them. So this is 1. However, I had them the wrong way around, so I had to dismantle and reassemble. So 1 will go there somehow, and that should be. That's 2, that's 3. It's kind of messy because I've got silicone everywhere, but can't stop now. So all these cracks in the bamboo, I've put silicone in them, and alright, so as I was saying, I put silicone in all these cracks. So the cracks you see in the bamboo, I'm just using a caulking gun. I'm just putting quite a generous amount of silicone in there, just to help prevent water coming through those cracks into the shelter later on. Alright, so I'm filling them up with silicone and then tucking it all in. And what I plan to do once it's all done, or once I've got this section done, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to fill up the gaps between them. That's why I've used real narrow pieces of bamboo here. The rest of the roof will have wider lengths of bamboo, but I wanted it fairly tight so I can put a good bead of silicone up there and really fill that up so it's not going to go in between those grooves, and then I can really put it around the tree so it's all going to flow off rather than build up against the tree. I've got a long one to go down this side, and if everything works out as it did when I dry assembled it, something like that. Alright, later on I'll go through and I'll drill holes where I've got this rail, drill a couple of holes, and I'll put cordage through there and lash it onto the rail. I'll pull it down. I'll do that on each of the highs, so the ridges, and that way it'll lock it all in. I'll do the same at either end, and then yeah. But for now, I think I'll just put one lashing across the whole lot and just cinch it down. I'll put the glue in the silicone in the groove, and silicon around the tree, and then just leave it until it's dry. So leave it till tomorrow, and then I can come back and I can drill those holes and pull it down. It's not going to all pull out of shape. Okay, this wasn't part of the original plan. Originally it's going to be bamboo running right through on the roof. However, due to a shortage in bamboo, there's no shortage, it's just the way the clump is growing, and people have been harvesting it already. It's in a public place. So they haven't done it real well. They haven't harvested the outside, they've sort of cut from within, and everything's in the clump is all woven together, so you can cut off a piece but you can't actually get it out of the clump. So I've pretty much taken all I can get out of there. And this Timor black bamboo that I'm using now, it's only a small clump, so I don't want to take too much from it. So I've come up with this bit of canvas which will come over this corner. I'm still going to have short bamboo pieces running along that corner, the top corner. However, down here, I was also thinking two things. One, there's a lot of game animals moving through here. There's hares, the odd deer. So having a roof, so this is going to be a hatch that I can open up, or a canvas flap. So it'll be fixed off across the top here and fixed down there as it is. However, this side here, it'll just be lashed down, and I can undo it, fold it back so I can stand up here. I can photograph or film any wildlife, or if I want to, can bring the bow out and look at harvesting an animal to eat. It also gives me the option if I want to go up this tree higher, so if I want to build a platform further up the tree, I need to be able to get access to it. So by having this like this, I can build a ladder and I can climb up out of the shelter up into the tree. So that's it. It's still going to be waterproofed, so there's not going to be water coming in here. But I thought I'd just explain why I'm doing this. It's also a bit of a skylight, lets a bit more light into the shelter. Not that it really needs it with the canvas around the walls, but alright, so that's the screen done for the window. So I've still got to make the framework up and put some cross bracing in it to stop it from racking, and then that'll get lashed off. So just around the side I'll just lash it all onto the frame, and that'll be the window. So it'll open up like that. I'm just folding that hem, so that's daggy end, and if I'm just putting it through that, I'm putting through there, it just pulls out. So my thought is, if I double it over, then I can go through 2 layers at once. No, they're not dinosaurs. As I've got comments before that sounds like dinosaurs flying over. They're actually sulphur-crested cockatoos. Just a parrot. So what I'm working on, this is the frame for this window. So yeah, I've just done just joins with it. So they just overlap, so lap joins, and then I'm just going to lash them all down. I don't know how it's going to go. As always, I'm playing it by ear and just adjusting as I go to see what works, what's not going to work, and learn from my mistakes hopefully. But I've got notches cut in it all the way around it that I can then lash into, put the cordage into without it slipping off, hopefully, and it's going to hold it all nice and stable. That's the plan anyway, but best laid plans often fall apart, so see what happens. Alright guys, in part 3 I think it was, can't even remember keep track of these the parts of these videos. Looking at this hatch in the floor here, and I realised I was going to have a problem because the hatch is going to hinge off of this edge here, and so for it to actually open up it's going to roll up on this rail, and I'll probably only be able to get to about here, so I wouldn't have been able to get inside the shelter because the rail is going to be like that, or the hatch would be like that. So what I had to do was put an extra rail in there to sort of pack it out, so then I'm hinging off of there and I've got enough clearance to fully open the hatch to get in and out of the shelter. So I've got this big lump of piece of wood here that I've hacked away at, and if I've done it right, it'll sit in there. It'll lash it off to that rail, and then I can hinge off of that. I put these little grooves in here just so I can tie a cord around there, and they're not going to impact on the hatch, because if you imagine this hatch rail being flush up against the side there, if there's a big heap of cordage in the way, it's going to hold it out away from it, so I needed that cordage to be flush. Right, so I've got this rail trimmed up. As you can see, it's been shaped all over the place. I've got chunks cut out of it, and that's going to butt up against this other rail that I've got here, this big rail, and it's going to hinge off of it. So I'd thought about building the hatch first and then trying to install it, hinge it. However, I want the rails to all be sitting on those other rails, like the floor rail and this one underneath my legs here. So I need it to be, every single rail I want to sit on that, because that's what's going to be supporting it. So if I made it beforehand, and because everything's out of square and it's curved and all that, there'd be certain rails that wouldn't make contact. So I wanted to do it in place, or I'm thinking of doing it in place. That one will be hinged off on there. So there's going to be 3 hinges. So I've got these hinges here, which I made earlier, So they're gonna hinge. There'll be one here, be another one over here somewhere, and one behind my legs. And you'll just see the top of it sitting through like that. And then when they open up, they'll open up like a hinge. And it's getting pretty hot here, so I'm glad to get this treehouse finished, and I can go into shorter projects that don't require as much physical exertion, or at least do some water challenges and fishing and out in the canoe and stuff. So, alright, enough talking. I might move the camera around so you can get a different angle. Yeah, it's just a matter of, once I put all the walls on here, I've limited where I can actually get enough view. Really need a GoPro or something with a wider angle lens on it. But right, I'll move you. Alright, how's that? Might be better for you, but now I've got to try to bend down to get in shot. Alright, so as I was saying, I'm going to hinge these off of here, so I've got them pre-marked. Now if I put it on, it doesn't work, or if it's binding, it's not the end of the world. I can just simply take it off and move it a little bit, pack it out if I need to stop it from twisting. So it's more important just to get on and get on with the job, rather than procrastinate and say, oh, I could pack it out here, I can just try it, and if it doesn't work, fix it. If it works, then you've saved yourself a whole heap of time thinking about what happens if it doesn't work. So, tip of the day from Rob. Alright, so I've got some real bushcraft tools here. Yeah, I could have used a brace and bit, do it old school, but I just want it finished, to be honest. Been taking quite a while to get it done, and got a lot of other projects, a lot of other projects I want to get done, and this is holding it up. And yeah, all I can think of all the fun things I want to do, and not that this isn't fun, but getting bored with it because I'm doing it every single day, or mostly every single day. So anyway, that's enough of my whinging. So we're just going to put it on there. Alright. Now I don't expect this to be perfect the first time. I'm expecting to have to make a lot of modifications, adjustments to it, just because it is what it is. Nothing's square and straight, and it's all over the place, but that's alright. Alright, so that's got all the hinges on there, you can see. So now it's a case of putting it where I want it. Straight up, I can see it's not going to work. So I've got a big gap here. So this one needs to move along a bit, I'm guessing, for it to be right. And I'll do that before I do anything else. Right, so it's got to go quite a ways along, just because there's a big dip in here. You can't see it, but if I change the camera angle, you would. So that's where the end of it has to be. It's got to be in here somewhere. So as I said, I could have spent half an hour trying to figure all that out before, or longer. But it's just a simple matter of trying it. Doesn't work, adjust it. But you got to be doing it. You can't get it done by not trying to get it done. If that makes sense. Alright, so it's going to move along to here. Alright, try again. So, like that. So what it's telling me is I'm going to have to drop it down. The hinges are going to, that one's fine. These are going to have to go down by 1/4 of an inch. So pull them off and then break out the, pull them off and break out the $1 knife. You know, I often see people, like I've got an expensive knife, but I've got two ends of the spectrum. I've got a knife that costs a few $100s, or a couple $100s, and I've got a knife that cost me $1. It's not always about the price tag, it's about what you're using it for and what it is. So if you're ever going to garage sales or yard sales, keep your eye out for old kitchen knives. The steel, I think they were made to last. They were super heavy duty knives back in the old days. And yeah, like this knife that I've got, this knife, it still got to replace the handle. I keep saying it. Is that better? I keep saying it in all the videos of, you know, about this knife and how I've got to replace the handle. I just keep wrapping tape on it to, because yeah, it's missing 2 of the 3 rivets, and the one rivet that's still in there, it's loose anyway. So but it's got a big thick back on it, spine on it. It was a bit deeper, so it came out like another 1/4 of an inch, but I ground it back. It was just too finer edge, and I was finding it was starting to twist, because I use this as a hatchet and a machete and anything else. So for this instance, I've got to take that down a bit. So I'm just chopping away. Yeah, so does the job, holds a reasonable edge. I don't sharpen it as near as often as I should, but I mean, I use this, I haven't used a hatchet at all on any of these builds that I've done. So on the Bushcraft shelter, this treehouse, so everything you see, majority of things on the treehouse and everything on the permanent shelter were done with a Silky Gomboy 240. So just a small folding saw and this knife. That's it. They yeah, it's only recently I got a folding bow saw, but I only started using that when I got onto the floor. But everything else was just been done with this bad boy, and like I said, $1. You know, I've been just treating it like dirt because it was only $1, and it stood up to everything I've thrown at it, and so it's my most used bit of kit. Use this more than anything else, and I really like it. I like the patina on it. The handle needs to be different, because when you're trying to chop things, it's constantly rolling in your handle, in your hand. So it's just a round handle, so it just wants to twist every time. So I need to make that a little bit different, and I don't have a sheath for it yet, so I've got to do that as well. However, oh, and in saying I don't have a hatchet, which is true, I don't have a hatchet or an axe, surprisingly enough. Well, I do have an axe, but it's not a great axe. Yeah, if any companies out there want to send me a hatchet, I'd love one. I can try it out for you, and after I've used it for a while, I'll give my opinion on it, my thoughts. Right, make sure it still works. Happy days. And it makes contact with the rails. No movement. Okay, so to continue, Probably not going to see my face much in this because I'm going to have to be back up at a shot like this. But that's what I've got to do to be able to get it in close enough for you to see what I'm doing. I'll temporarily lash that side on. Let's just figure out all my cordage here. And then I'll do a similar thing this side. And then I'll bind this side on. By the time I get to the last rail, I would have figured out what I'm doing. Hopefully. Alright, so I've just got that on as a loop and a loop. And put that one in the loop. Let's pull it up. Make sure I get that under there first. So, if you remember, there was that, I had that groove in it that I cut in the checkout I did in this rail. Alright. I'm going to undo all this. This is just to kind of hold it, hold this end while I work on this end. So now they've got that held there. Put this on here, and it holds it all nice and tight. It lets me work on this, and then I'll come back and undo that and finish it off, and so on and so forth. Then I just undo this end. All this rubbish I've got going on here. I'll pull that down. Nice and tight. And then away we go. Alright, so I've been continuing on with this hatch, as you can see. Takes a bit of time, as everything I do seems to. However, it'll be great. Great. Once it's done, it'll be good. So, yeah. Alright. Struggling. Still had back issues for the last month and a half or so. So it's been a bit of a struggle to get going most days here. So thanks for bearing with me. Okay, so that's the hatch all finished. I'll get my leg out of the hole, close it for you. I got 3 pieces of cordage and plaited them together, and then just wrap that on there so I've got a handle to hang on to. And what I've also done on the wall here, I've just made a bit of a toggle, just lashed that on, so when I open that up I can hook it back through that back loop, and then it won't fall down on me. So then it's, yeah, when I'm getting in and out, don't have to worry about that going. And it's just a matter of unhooking that off of it, so it sort of just gets tucked in there. And then I've got a convenient handle to hang on to when I'm in here and I'm wanting to get out. Right, now onto just got to hinge the window now. Get that done. I don't know how I'm going to go filming it for you, just because it is what it is, and I imagine it's going to be quite difficult to get it on there. So yeah, move on. Right, that's the window in. It's not quite how I'd hoped it would be. Got a bit of a gap at the bottom here. Hinges out a bit at the top, but yeah, it'll do. It's in. It offers me shade, lets the air in. I can open it up, and yeah. So this is the solution I've come up with for the window. Just to prop it open, just using a forked stick. I'm just hooking that in underneath the window there on the bottom rail, just pushing it open and just propping against the side of the window frame. Does a good enough job, and yeah, exactly how I wanted it to work, so happy with that. Alright, I don't know if I mentioned it in part 2 or 3. I know I plan to. I haven't looked back, I haven't had time to look back to see if I actually did. But I got this doorway here, and I was going to explain what it was for. Obviously I'm 3.5 meters off the ground, so I'm not going to step out here. I've already got a ladder. My thought is, possibly, at some point in the future, there's another tree just out here a bit. I was thinking about building a second tree house. As I said, I don't know if this is going to happen because it's taken a long time to build this one, and I've got a lot of other projects I want to get done, and yeah, just, you know, not in any hurry to take on another big build. But if I do decide to do it in the future, I want to have a rope bridge going from this tree house to that one. So the rope bridge would come off this doorway across to that one. So I needed this doorway to be here. So right from the very start, when I was designing the tree house, I worked this doorway into it. In case I decide to do this other project. I don't want to get to a point where I decide to do it and then I didn't have a doorway here. And so that's why I've got this doorway here. It'll probably just get sealed up. I've got Velcro strips on it, so I'll just close up and yeah, just leave it like that. But I've also left the this end roof pole. It runs out past about 1 meter, so I've got an option for hanging a flag there, or having a pulley up the top, and I can have a rope going down with a basket, and I can, you know, lift things up if I want to. So it's just giving me a few different options. But yeah, that's the door, and as you can see, I've just got Velcro strips on it, and I've got Velcro strips attached to the sides of the door as well. So it just Velcros off, and then happy days. I'm going to sit back and relax for a few days before I start another project. This one's been a big one. So yeah, alright, I'll see you next time. Thanks guys.